Well, today should be a fun show. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, coming to you live from the podcast layer. Today I'm interviewing somebody that my understanding is a veteran.
Yes.
So thank you for your service. Never want to forget to do that. And I think she's had enough of what's going on with our state. And we're seeing more and more veterans step up. So I appreciate the fact that you're stepping up, that we have to create a bench and a bunch of common sense people. Now, not all veterans are conservative or liberal, but they all agreed on one thing. This country was worth putting their lives on hold for and serving.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Eric, there's so much that's going on in our state right now that there is not a veteran alive that I believe would be okay with what they have been experiencing. We know, especially at the federal level, that change was needed. And a lot of people said we must have change, and they voted in change. Well, we need to do so now at the state level.
I see it as even more because we're completely devoid of any common sense. If you've got districts set up where the minority doesn't even have a voice,
Right.
okay, that means that it's a given that the Democrat's going to be elected, and that's how it's been for most of the last 20 years. If that's the case, those that are the most vulnerable, the people that the Democrats are always talking about, they don't really have a choice, and they have no way to influence policy because they're politicians that are supposedly, they're politician servants. They're not accountable.
They're not accountable, Eric. And that's what I want to change. So I was recently at an event called Coffee with the Cop. And it was actually in my in the area that I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. And everyone who came was done with the current administration. They were done with the, oh, we'll get to you, right? They call, they don't get responses. They didn't get any type of true help.
Now, is this a local level not responding?
That is true. It was local level, but
Okay.
we understand that California, whether it's local or statewide, it's controlled by the same administration. So we have to have some change because we've been promised over and over and over again that people were going to do something about the crime, do something about the homelessness, do something about giving us a true voice. And what did we get for it? We got things like Proposition 50 that takes away our voice. We're tired of that. We need people who are truly going to be accountable to us, we the people.
I think too many politicians in California have forgotten the idea that they're servants.
Correct. And as I'm talking to people up and down the state, they agree because they're not getting the responses that are necessary in order to fix issues. They get Band-Aids, and sometimes not even a Band-Aid. It's more like Scotch tape. And we need real common sense answers. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes them doing their job.
Well, a great example of no common sense is the train to nowhere. You know, the budget has changed multiple times. We have now spent in the billions.
Yes.
Luckily, the Trump administration went, well, since you haven't built any track, you've built some overpasses and you've wasted a lot of money, but that's all they've done is they built some overpasses. That's the only value we've got, except I've had this idea that we should turn it into an amusement park. It'll be like Stonehenge so that the next generation realizes how to waste money and maybe that we should do better.
Well, we have to do better. If we don't do better, the next generation won't have money to waste. Right now, we are in deficits in many cities and counties. Why? And I was talking to a gentleman just yesterday about the fact that our current administration has continuously wanted to blame Trump for the issues. But Trump wasn't the one elected. He wasn't the one with the power to be able to make change here in California. The people that were elected were the ones.
Well, Gavin had the position you're running for 8 years, and he's been governor for 7+, and he was talking about, just for instance, fixing the homeless problem. What would that be? almost 30 years ago when he was a city councilman in San Francisco, which he was there for 8 years. And then he was mayor of San Francisco for 8 years. And what happened? We got zero. We got worse than zero results.
We went backwards when it came to homelessness. When he started, there were some homeless individuals. Now we had whole cities that turned into shanty towns. Why? Because he didn't know what he was doing, or he just didn't care. Either way, we needed somebody that actually wanted to fix the problem.
So what is, as lieutenant governor, what powers do you have? How could you affect change if you got elected?
Well, I always say that everybody has the power to affect change because we, the people, truly are the government. However, as lieutenant governor, I do sit on multiple boards, and one of those boards is the Land Commission Board. And we want to be able to use our land that has that are on our books effectively. I would work with the people to be able to make sure that the land that we have on the books is utilized so that we can actually now start tackling some of these issues. Homelessness shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue that's growing. So we have to get back to the basics and just get some common sense people into positions who want to work so that we can get it done.
In this here in the Valley, I told you I'm not going to really get you on agriculture, but every job,
Yes.
pretty much here, is either directly related to agriculture or it's only 2 steps removed. So water's our big issue.
Yes.
What could you do as lieutenant governor to help with water?
So as lieutenant governor, I am the president of the Senate. So I will.
So you're like the deciding vote, like the vice president.
I am.
On the national level. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to push for legislation that really helps the people here in the Valley. Far too long we've been promised water, but we never received water. Why did we vote in change when we're not going to put the resources behind the vote? We need to start actually building some dams. We need to actually start putting some money behind our words and not just keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, they've torn down 2. Isn't that going the right direction?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, because you see what it's given us. If we don't have the water for our farmlands to be able to be productive, then we are at the mercy of other countries. Why do we ship in food when we have wonderful agricultural land here? We should be making sure that we're putting money into the people here, America first, California first, and not making other people rich off of our resources.
Well, farmland is a renewable resource.
Definitely.
There's a word for the left, renewable resource.
Right.
I think we need to talk about that. It's not that the farmers are wasting water, they're growing food, which is essential. This county is always number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the entire United States for productivity in agriculture, total output. We're talking billions of dollars.
Yes.
We're usually number 1 or number 2. It kind of just depends on which crop and what happens what year.
Right.
But it's either us, Kings County, or Tulare County. We feed the world, and we
Yes, we
produce
do.
about 70% of the produce here. We can't lose that.
We can't lose that, Eric. And it shouldn't even be on the table to be lost. It's high time that we actually look at the people here instead of looking at growing other countries. Other countries, whatever. We have to put America first, California first. We have the resources. Let's utilize them. Let's get back to the basics. That's what I intend to do.
The other big problem besides water for agriculture is the myriad of regulations. I'm sure some of them are necessary, but I know all of them are not. For instance, the way agriculture works is you have either too much work to do or you have slow periods, unless you're a dairy farmer, in which case, God bless you, and thank you for being willing to work 24/7.
Yeah.
Everybody else it goes in cycles. California law has made it so that the people that are out working in the farms can only work a certain number of hours. And so they can't get the extra work. Those tend to be hardworking, poor people. Thank goodness for them. they can't go work unless they somehow cheat the system and get all the hours they can, because they know if I work 80 hours a week for 2 weeks, maybe in a month, maybe there's only 25.
Right.
So it doesn't allow them to take care of themselves, and that's state regulation. So my point is, regulation is also killing agriculture.
100% in agreement, Eric. And it's not only killing agriculture, it's killing our businesses. It's killing our housing. We have the highest cost for housing in the nation. Why? Because we regulate people to death. It costs you, if you want to build a house, it costs you less for the land than to actually build anything on the land. So you see a lot of land that's just empty. Why? Because we've made it too difficult to do business in California. I want to repeal back some of those former or policies that are on the books now. They're not all necessary. Some of them are triplicates, not even double, but triplicates. So do we really need to pay for the same item 3 times? We don't.
But Newsom needs to get rich.
Well, he could do so in another state.
No, don't infect him on somebody else. He's our problem, and we need to handle him.
We will handle him because he's no longer able to run for another term. And I know he wants to be president, but I'm hoping and praying every single day that California and all other states are smarter than to elect him as anything other than maybe dog catcher.
No, that's too much responsibility.
Poor dogs, right?
Yeah. Like, I like dogs. I don't want to do that to him. He'll find some way where he doesn't have to follow the same rules, and somehow he'll make a profit and the dogs will suffer.
Right. And Eric, I want to talk about Prop 50. The reason is...
Okay, so define it before you get into the reason is.
Yes.
So that not everybody's going to know. Everybody should know, because this one's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I'm going to use the terms that Newsom used. He told us American people that the reason he needs to go after our ability to choose which district we are lining up is because Texas did something illegal.
No, Texas was ordered by a court to do it.
Exactly. So I want people always to have all the knowledge before making a decision. Have an informed decision, because as I'm going up and down the state, people didn't know that Texas was sued, and that is why they had to redistrict. Well, if Texas was sued and they followed the law and went ahead and redistrict as they were told to do, then how is it that Gavin Newsom is going up and down California saying that, oh, Texas was gerrymandering, and that's why he's doing what he's doing?
Well, to be fair, every state gerrymanders to some extent. Okay. That is a fair point.
Okay.
Whichever party's in power, they always work it a little bit to their advantage. So he's right in that sense, but he wants to completely eliminate it. Right now, with our independent redistricting commission, which we have voted on twice through the ballot initiative system.
Yes.
Republicans represent 17%, I believe, of the congressional seats. There's 52 total. And we represent about 40% of the voter base.
That is correct. And even though it's not a perfect system, it's a system that the people voted in. So Newsom wants to get rid of the commission altogether. Understand that the commission can have everyday people like you and I on it.
I know people that were on it this last round.
Right.
A few years back.
To me, that makes more sense than putting all the power, all the decision-making power under one person.
Well, if you allow the politicians to do it, don't they get to pick their voters?
Ah,
Define their districts? Look, under Prop 50, the city of Lodi, which is not that big,
right.
100,000 people in that range. I don't know exactly.
Somewhere close to that, correct.
That's divided into 3 districts.
And why? Why would they?
So
need
they can
3
pick their
districts?
voters. So there's not too much of an accumulation of voters they don't like.
Right.
They're picking their voters.
Right, and that is exactly why the voters voted in the commission, because they understood that if you leave the wolf to be in charge of taking care of the hen house, we won't have any hens, right?
Yep.
So, no, we had to make something that at least had the appearance of fairness. And we voted it in twice, as you stated. And now Gavin Newsom wants to break that down and put all the power under him. He's done this multiple times. So don't be gaslit, people. Understand what you're voting for when you're voting for Prop 50. So we have to vote no because it's our choice. So it should be our voice that's represented.
And to my friends on the left, again, if districts are drawn in a way where it's a foregone conclusion who's going to be elected, then how do you get the politicians to listen to you? So this affects the disadvantaged the most.
Correct.
So even my friends on the left, you're always saying you're an advocate for the poor.
Right.
Here's a chance to advocate for the poor.
100% in agreement. And one of the things people say, well, you Republicans, you don't think about the poor. And if anything, I think that as a Republican, that is my mission, because most of us understand that there's not a whole lot of money in politics for us. We're doing
Not
this,
if you're honest.
Not if you're honest, correct. Not if you really want to help the poor. So you have to look at who's really getting rich off of this. It's not me. Definitely, it's not the people that I associate with who have been fighting for the people. And yes, you get called all kinds of names, but we still could continue. Why? Because if we don't fight for our Constitution, then who's going to uphold it? We have to do it. We, the people, because it's ours. So we have to fight to continue it. And that's what I like to tell people. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, a Hispanic, a female, a male. The Constitution represents all of us. So as I fight to make sure that we are constitutionally based, I'm also fighting for you. I don't care who you are, because we, the people, have to make sure that we keep people in line and doing what the Constitution says.
Well, the Constitution essentially was written to limit government.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things it does. And then it gives us our rights as individuals, and they were granted from God.
Yes.
Our forefathers were brilliant.
They were.
Was it perfect? No. The world had never seen a document like that where the rights were based upon the individual.
Yeah.
Were there groups that were left out of that initial idea? Yes. And I'm so glad that we're slowly fixing that. For instance, as a woman, you didn't have the right to vote.
That's true.
As a black person.
True.
And I'm guessing you're black, but you know.
I
Sometimes I question whether I'm really white.
I have a good tan. What can I say? Right. But you know what I love, Eric, is the fact that we're getting to a point within our country and within the world that we're seeing beyond that. Mm-hmm. Because we understand that at the end of the day, we're all human. At the end of the day, we want what's best for our children. We want to leave them a world that is thriving and not on the verge of collapse. We want to be able to say, yeah, we're not perfect. Why? Because there's humans involved. But
no government, no people's perfect, though.
Exactly. And we're doing the best thing for everyone. And that means being involved, right? I love that we have the ability to have freedom of speech, this podcast. In other countries, just 50 years ago, if you think about the fact that just 50 years ago, other countries didn't have the democracy that they have now. It was because of our country, and they saw how well it was working, that the world changed. And we take that for granted.
Well, I do this thing from Rick Green, Patriot Academy, where the idea, it starts with the freedom of the free world depends on you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then that seems like a big mouthful. But if you then boil it down and you ask people, well, do you think the freedom of the free world depends on America? And people are like, well, okay. And then you say, well, our Constitution starts with the individual. And the freedom that is supported by the Constitution depends on the individuals understanding it and demanding our rights. Limiting government.
Yes.
So the freedom of the free world depends on you and me and all of us.
Yes, yes. And I am so amazed that, this wonderful, what some people call experiment of the Lord's, that we have a government where people can come and have no education or traditional education, start with nothing and build conglomerates. I mean, we didn't have that in other countries. And
No, you had to you did whatever your family did or whatever the government assigned you. There was no
Right.
other freedom.
That's it. That's it. So true freedom here is God-given. It wasn't given by the aristocrats. It was given by God. And that is what is different than other countries, because we understood that regardless of any other divisive characteristic, we were one nation full of human beings that had God-given rights because God said so. So I really fear that there are people who don't understand how critical it is to not only know your Constitution, but to fight for it. So,
What role does faith play in your life?
oh my goodness, it plays such a big role. Such a big role. I am not perfect by any means. And I was telling someone that I was speaking to the other day, please don't put me on a pedestal because I will fall off. Right? But I thank the Lord that He has played such an integral part in me being able to change my mind from the mindset of, oh yeah, we have to, I can't do it. If somebody doesn't do it for me, then how am I supposed to get it? From that mindset to the entrepreneurial mindset that God gave us, the mindset that was instilled in our forefathers that said, hey, we have a right to freedom and we have the right to choose for ourselves. As when I really studied the Bible, when I really started studying the Bible, I realized how hard it is for God to give us freedom, because freedom costs always. It never is free. That means that if I allow my child to make certain choices for him or herself, I have to keep my word to give them that freedom, because if I take it back, then they were never free. I just gave them a little license for a little time. But in this country, we understood that God gave us the ability to choose whether we will love Him and follow Him or not. And that's hard. That's very hard, to stand back and watch people make bad decisions, to stand back and know that certain decisions is going to lead them down a path of destruction, and yet they have that right. Why? Because God gave it to them. And that's what our Constitution is based on, the ability to have the ability to choose for yourself the direction your life is going to go.
Yes, but thank goodness He is forgiving,
Amen.
because I know I need it.
Yes.
Changing gears a little bit. Top 3 priorities.
Well, my
And we don't have to take them all at once, but can you state the 3 of them, or top 5, whatever number you, and then we'll work on each one.
Wonderful. So, Eric, I do have a website. My website is www.ebielynch for California, fully spelled.com. So that's www.eblynchforcalifornia.com. And I say that because I list out my priorities on my website, and I encourage people to go on there and leave a message. I love talking to people. My number 1 priority is to get our legislature fixed. And when I say fixed, I mean we need to get people of faith and conviction into those seats. The reason why we have what we have is because we have too many people who don't answer to anybody. They don't answer to God, and they definitely don't feel like they answer to us. So if we don't have people that understand that our Constitution, including our state constitution, is directed by a love and an understanding and a faith of God, in God, then we're never going to get the type of people that are going to answer to us. They first have to believe in God. So I am going to work with people to make sure that happens. Secondly, I want to make sure that we have a school system that respects our Constitution and respects everybody's rights. So right now, especially on our our higher education campuses, there is a trend that's going on that is abhorrent. We should never have people that fought hard to get the grades that they needed to get, and then found the money to be able to go to school and receive a higher education, just to be threatened, just to be told, hey, you can't come into this campus because we're having a demonstration, to feel unsafe. So the first thing on those campuses is to make sure that people are getting an education. All of that other stuff needs to be outside the campus, because everybody deserves to feel safe when they go to school. And I want to make sure also that we have the economy that we deserve. So as the lieutenant governor, one of my duties is to make sure I sit on the economic boards, and the economic commission that we had voted in the 70s still does not have a quorum. Why? Because the governor, who's responsible for making sure he appoints people so we can have a quorum, has not done his job.
Well, but that might be because he's afraid that that commission might come in with opinions that he didn't like.
Well, that's his problem, not ours, right? We deserve a say in how our economy is run. And that commission was put together for that purpose. And I want to make sure that we put that commission back together, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that the people who are supposed to sit on that commission get the opportunity to sit on that commission.
But the governor technically makes the appointments.
He does.
And let's hope. I have my favorite, but I don't really want to name names because I'm going to be interviewing several governor candidates soon, and I've already interviewed some. So I don't want to tip my hand as to who my favorites are. Mm-hmm. There are several people I like that would be a huge improvement, and I don't want to be divisive with that. I want everybody to have a fair shot.
Yes.
But by the time we get to January, if you're not making at least even 5% in the polls, you need to drop out.
I understand.
And that's not against anybody. That's just, we don't need, I think we're at 14 candidates that might matter, at least some, and a few others that don't.
Right. You know what? I love our democratic way of doing business, because this is the process. And as time goes by, people will see. I think people will just drop out on their own because they will get the hint.
It didn't happen during the recall.
It didn't happen during the recall, and I believe because it was a recall.
Well, let's hope that's the case.
In any case, we have to pray for whoever it is that makes it in the top whatever. Because if we're not involved, even in that way, in the way of prayer, then we're going to get what we got. You know, you put in the work, and everybody has to do their part because there's so much at stake right now.
Now, the left would criticize you and go, well, prayer doesn't do anything.
Oh, well, that's their opinion.
Now, not everybody on the left, because I do know I have a few friends on the left that are Christian, but they're traditional liberals. So they see individual freedom, and they think it's based on the individual. They're not the ones that are screaming you're a fascist constantly and are Trump deranged, yet are advocating for authoritarianism and fascism.
Right. But you know what, Eric, what I've realized, because I was a Democrat for quite some time. And
I'm sorry, but but I'm glad you've seen the light.
Of course, I saw the light. God told me to come over to the Republican Party, and it was a struggle at first because I had been indoctrinated to a lot of lies. And that's what we have to fight against, the lies. Like I said, we had our so-called governor tell us a lie about Prop 50, and that's not the first or will be the last. We have to get involved and talk to people, give them the information. And once I started to get the truth, I said, you know what, my values are actually represented better over there. And we have to have those discussions.
See, I had hippie parents, moderate on one side, moderate Democrat grandparents on one side, and hardcore Republicans on the other. And well, I'm kind of a rebel, so I became a conservative at age 6.
Wow.
Literally at age 6.
Wow.
I watched the Republican and Democratic national conventions, Reagan had a little bit part, because he ran and lost, but
Right.
they gave him a few minutes of speech. And I remember part of that speech
Wow.
about how he wanted to empower me, and even though I'm a little kid, and have government get out of the way. And I remember Carter talking about taking care of me, and I'm like, I don't want that.
Right.
Those larger themes. I don't remember anything else about those two speeches, but I remember those two things
Right.
at age 6. So I'm kind of a political nerd. Strangely enough, I've only been active since COVID. I've always voted, I always spoke, but I didn't really do anything. I never worked on a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these opportunities. I want to point out that for those that are going, well, my vote doesn't make a difference. Our revolution against the most, in 1776, against the most powerful nation in the world at the time, England, about somewhere between 6 and 12% of the population actively supported the war.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed the world with only 6 to 12%. With just the people we have now, if they just work, we could change California with no problem.
100% in agreement, Eric. I tell you, it's usually those. Think about David and Goliath, right? This is definitely a David and Goliath moment. And California, we've been here before. This isn't new. And California is so respected because we've had innovative ideas where people thought, oh, every time they think, oh, California is going down, they're done. We come out like Rocky and come back fighting, right? And this is the time for us to, that Rocky moment, for us to get involved and fight. We can't give up. Yeah, of course, we want to move to another state. But if we don't fix California, the rest of the nation is going to go in the same direction.
I see that as California's like an infection.
Yes, it is.
We're like an infectious disease, and if we don't cure that disease here, it will just keep spreading. So I have lots of friends that left. If you left because California cost of living is too high and you can live a good life, I understand. If you have little kids and you didn't want to deal with the schooling issue, I understand. Everybody else has no excuse. They should be in the fight.
I do agree. And it's hard. It's not easy, but it's going to be so much more, it's going to be so much more gratifying when you know that you did the work regardless of all of the people, all of the naysayers, right? And you fought a good fight and you won. And I do believe we're going to win. I do believe we're going to win because as I'm talking to people up and down the state, it's not just Republicans who are fed up. It's not just Democrats who are fed up. People in general are fed up.
If they just show up at the polls.
Right.
If just 80% of the Republicans would show up, just 80, not even 100%, the state would be at least in the realm of reasonable and fairly evenly divided. Instead, on a good election, we have 40, like a Trump election.
Right.
And it's one of the easiest states to vote. We have a vote by mail system. I have huge problems with it, but it's the system we've got. We've got to work with it.
Yeah.
We have to ballot harvest. I cringe when I say that, but the only way to get the votes back is to do things like ballot harvest. And then once you're in power, get rid of the corrupt system.
Right. You have to get in power first. I agree, Eric. And yeah, ballot harvesting isn't ideal, but like you said, it's what we have. And I think what hurt us the most is that we were fighting against it instead of, putting together strategies to utilize it for our benefit, because the other side was doing that.
Well,
And-
Michelle Steele she lost her last election by a little bit, but she's in a D plus area. And she came this close once and she won before that. What they did was they got churches to be involved. I think that's one of the keys to our victory. And it's not necessarily the church had to talk about politics. The church needed to talk about their moral values. And then I hear a lot of churches, well, but I can't do politics.
Oh, I don't like that. That really, really just irks me.
Well, I see it as part of good works. If faith is needed, but faith without good works is hollow. If you are not going out and spreading biblical values, which I see as good works,
Yes.
then you're failing.
So
There's a place where you can make that argument with them. You go, come on, at least defend your values.
One-
Don't
yes.
just shell up and hide.
Right, 100%. So when I talk to people, I always remind them that as a Christian, we are given the command by God to go out and spread the good news, right? There's nowhere in the Bible that God said, go spread the good news, but don't do it in the political realm. Stay out of that. Don't touch that, right? No, God never said that. He said in all the world. That means all of it. So if God created government, why would he limit us in any part of his creation? We are supposed to go and spread the good news in government because he already gave us the command to govern ourselves a certain way.
We're down to about 10 minutes. It's going fast, which is good. What do we do about crime? It's out of control.
Yes. So crime requires all hands on deck. During my time at the Coffee with the Cop, I talked to quite a few officers and quite a few people in the neighborhood, and they say, well, we've tried to reach out to the mayor and we've tried to reach out to this person and people are not coming to help us. Well, that's because we are the government. Those are our neighborhoods. Nobody's going to care about you more than you. So we have to go back to doing things like having our neighborhood watches, getting to know our officers, making sure that they're supported. I never understood why somebody would say, hey, defund the police. Well, okay, now you need a cop. Where are you going to find one? Somebody's there and they're breaking into your home. What are you going to do? So we have to have some common sense solutions and not demonize the people who are truly doing work. I'm not saying that there aren't bad apples. There are bad apples at your job. Think about the people you work with, right? Should people say, oh, you need to get fired because, Joe Schmo next door didn't do his job? No. We have to look at the whole picture and understand that we need to fix the system, yes, but we all have to get involved. Let's bring back those neighborhood watches, get to know your neighbors, understand, hey, I have an elderly person down the street that doesn't get out a lot. Maybe I can, check on them.
Or maybe mentor a kid, because one of the big
Yes.
places with crime, I volunteered at a boys' home for 8 years. I got paid for 1 month, was going to quit, and decided I'd be a volunteer, and I stayed for 8 years.
Yes.
I miss it, but I don't have time.
Right.
But volunteering can make a huge difference in a kid's life. And that huge difference could maybe make the difference as to whether they pick a life of crime
Yes.
or they're inspired by a mentor to do better. So we can all play a part in this.
Yes. Definitely, Eric. So I agree. And I think we need to utilize our family members, grandmas. If you're retired, I'm retired. And God was like, it's time for you to go do your next assignment, lady. You're not going to sit back and watch soap operas all day, which is, that sounded kind of fun for a little while.
I can't see you watching soap operas, but you never know.
Right. So I say grandmas, grandpas, get involved, go volunteer at those schools because kids are just starving for somebody to teach them, to pour into them, to spend some time giving them what it used to be like and what it could be. That investment is going to reap so many returns later on.
Well, and kids actually, even though they rebel against expectations and boundaries, they're typically, it might take a little while for them to realize and admit it, but they're better for it.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things, or one of the reasons why I'm friends with so many people that are either current or former military, is because they were forced through this discipline and it changed who they were.
Amen. I'm one of them. I tell people about how I used to want to be an actress. I grew up in LA. That's what, most people wanted. They wanted to be an actress, or they wanted to be a football player or some type of sports player. And I was one of them. I thought entertainment was going to make me rich, right? And my mom said, no, not my child. And she and my older brother got together and, lo and behold, I'm in the military. And I tell people all the time, man, I really appreciated the skills that I learned, the discipline that I have now. It's ingrained in me. And if we want that for our society, then we have to be willing to put in the time to get those skills. And in the military, they put in the time in you, and they give you the money while you're learning the skills. Where else are you going to get that? I'm just saying.
So I see two other big issues, and I don't know that we have time to do a whole lot on either one of them. Homelessness and cost of living. How can you make a difference? Pick one and
Well, I think both of them are intertwined. Cost of living, because I do work with people who are homeless, and a few homeless commissions. And what I find is that people don't choose to be homeless, they end up homeless. Why? Because our cost of living here in California is ridiculous. I spoke with a young lady who said, hey, I make $700 a month for a single, not even a one bedroom, for a studio. It's about $1,000 to $1,200. Do the math. And I'm like, okay, because even if you were able to get something for $700, how about utilities, food, and everything else? We have to get back to a place where it doesn't cost more than 30% for you to be able to have a home or live somewhere. We have to get back to some common sense solutions, because the ones that they have presented didn't make any sense.
So where would you start?
I would start with making sure that we do a Doge. We need to know where the money they poured a lot of money into homelessness.
Here's a little hint. There is one happening in California, and that's all I can say at this point.
Well,
a private one.
Okay. Well,
I'm hoping to be able to share that good news soon.
I hope so. I hope so, because we need it. We deserve it. As a California taxpayer, I want to know where that money went. And I'm sure most California, if not all Californians, want to know where their money went.
Yeah. That would make a huge difference. Well, we're down to about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Give your website one more time so we don't forget to do that.
Most definitely. So it's www.eblynch for California. That's phonetically Echo Bravo Indigo Echo. Then Lynch, that's Lima Yankee November Charlie Hotel. And then Foxtrot Oscar Romeo 4, and then California spelled out.com. Ebie Lynch for California.com.
If you doubted you were in the military, I think you just got some proof. So, I'm fortunate enough that you're going to come live. I've got a few people that listen local, and they'll have a chance to meet you in person here in Clovis at the American Legion Hall in Old Town Clovis.
Okay.
Tonight at 6:30. Today is the 11th, so it's kind of a big deal day, September 11th.
Yes.
So I hope you thank a patriot today, because that's a day that changed our world.
Yes.
One other thing I just want to touch on briefly is what happened with Charlie Kirk. Thoughts?
We should never have violence be the answer in our political system, because everyone has a right to their opinion and have their voices heard. So when somebody is not tolerant enough to allow somebody to be able to speak on the truth as he or she sees it, we have come to a place of total darkness. Thank God that we have people of light who are doing the work to push back that darkness. My heart goes out to Charlie. He was a wonderful person, a wonderful man, a wonderful husband, and we have truly lost a great light in this world of ours.
My heart goes out to his family. I think he was right with God. He'll be okay.
I do too.
But it's his family that I see the huge tragedy, and for all those that he influenced.
I agree. So we have to continue his work and not let the battle stop just because he's no longer here.
I don't have time for that question. Why are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful because there's a God in heaven. And I see, as I'm going up and down California, people who truly have the light of the Holy Spirit within them, and they are doing the hard work. Whether somebody pats them on the back or not, they continue. So I know that God is in this, and we're going to win.
Well, I am definitely hopeful. I see this as the greatest opportunity of my lifetime to change what's going on.
Yes.
I thank you for this time.
Thank you, Eric.
And I look forward to you coming and speaking to my group, the Clovis Constitutionalist, tonight. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on here from the podcast layer. I just made a big change, folks, and I have not quite adjusted here from the podcast layer. We'll talk to you soon. Get involved, folks.
Amen.